Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yuri Folari. A quote from the president yesterday, everybody can relate to it. Insecurity in Nigeria is now mentioned all over the world. All people who want power, whoever they are, you begin to wonder what they really want. But the part of it, the first part that interested me is that, you know, all over the world they're talking about the insecurity situation in Nigeria. And Mr. President has said, you know what? Those people causing trouble are in for a shock. But I get ahead of myself. My guest this morning is Dr. Lukayode Iswola, Senior Research Fellow in Politics and Governance.
That's correct.
I got it. Senior Research Fellow, Politics and Governance at the University of Lagos. He's also, we take him as a political analyst. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
All right then. So, the president, you know, what he has said is plain, because just about everywhere, certainly all over the country, people are talking about the insecurity situation. Now the president has given hope, shall we say, that we're about to do something decisive. That is to say, he is on our behalf. And he said a shock awaits them. How do you take this? Because I have heard commentaries saying that, now, whereas that is good news, why are you telling us this first? Why are you giving people, room to... Look, if people are definitely troubling the nation, and it didn't start yesterday, what is it about governance that they can't just act? How did you receive it? Or is all of this in order? This is the way it's supposed to be. Bear in mind that the background to all of this was the report by Professor Yakubu of INEC that we've been taking all sorts of hits, and in the last 7 months is when we've taken most of the, I think 42 hits on INEC facilities that he spoke about. Your view?
Very complex. Very complicated. The Frenchman will say c'est compliqué, as it were. Well, the first point is the president's confession, if I'm allowed to use that word, that insecurity in Nigeria is now talk of the nation. I think it goes beyond the nation.
He even said all over the world.
Talk of the world.
Yeah.
I just returned from some African countries as a result of my research activities, and I could relate with colleagues in universities, research centers around Africa, telling you that you are coming from a collapsed state, a failed state. They are judgmental about it, expressly.
But in your environment, that is the academic environment, I'm surprised to hear such, dare I say, casual comments.
Yes, but that's my surprise too. And that's why it is so significant that I have to bring it to this table. Expressly, they put one or two together to conclude that you are coming from a collapsed state. That is the impression. Maybe those of us who are in Nigeria will feel, well, that is a bit exaggerated, because I could still drive from the University of Lagos down to this place today. You probably will not be able to do that in a collapsed state. But maybe we should add a morphine to it, a collapsing state.
Okay.
The state has not collapsed, but it is showing every sign that it is fast collapsing.
So there's a slide that needs to be checked.
Definitely. I think that's what the president suddenly realized. I'm pleasantly surprised that the president of Republic of Nigeria will suddenly realize that, having been so silent about everything over the years, sitting as if nothing is happening, and of course it's just one of those things that will spring up today and disappear tomorrow.
You say that, he has spokesmen who have been very, very busy between Mr. Adesina and Mr. Shehu. They have been speaking. I'm relating to the part where you said he's been silent. Hardly, if you're going to take the commentary, which is always in the name of the president that we've been hearing from those two gentlemen, you surely can't say
if you study the Nigerian political system very much, and very well, you will know that in most cases, when spokesmen speak, they don't speak for the president. And if you remember,
even though they mention his name,
of course, they will say the presidency as an institution, but they don't speak for the president.
But
that's why
they actually say President Muhammadu Buhari said.
Well, when you speak for, and you speak directly, I think two things will always come out of it. Yorubas will say "Oro okere," tí ó bá lékan, adékan. I mean, Nigerians didn't vote for Shehu or any other person who calls himself or additional, the spokesman for the president, Nigerians voted for Mr. President, and he came to Nigerians to have a social contract. Nigerians expect, therefore, that whenever there are critical national issues, the president should come out and speak to them. It's more comforting psychologically, politically, and in terms of the rigor, the potency of the speech. It's not enough for me to say, Yori's son said I should do this. Yori should come out and make the statement. It's more potent, it's more comforting, and it brings more action, whenever it is expected. So, again...
So you don't put much stock on those who have told us in the past that, well, different strokes for different folks. That is not Mr. President's style.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Because there are demands. Social media is full of demands that Mr. President speak to us. I mean, they even try the emotional gambit about you are our father. You are the father of all. Speak to us. Tell us, tell us it's going to be okay.
Science for a president to speak to the nation? I'm beginning to get confused. I mean, some 2, 5, 7 years ago, when you wanted to be elected as president, you were everywhere, speaking to everybody on every issue. And people are bringing this out from the social media. That look, if you could say this some 10 years ago, some 7 years ago, some 5 years ago, 4 years ago, why don't you speak now? Why have you decided to be suddenly quiet, personally, about the affairs of the nation? Where you are campaigning to, you have campaign managers who speak for you. Right. But in most cases, you choose to deliver the word. Because people see you more than the campaign managers who are paid for what they are doing.
Are you therefore saying, even if it is in part, that Mr. President's silence has somehow, his silence has exacerbated the situation? In other words, turn it around. If Mr. President had been communicating with us, as you are saying, and as a lot of people are saying they want, therefore, this state of insecurity would not have been as serious.
Absolutely,
you think
saying.
So?
I think so.
Because,
I believe so.
Because he wasn't twiddling his thumbs. He's been getting on with it, and his team. Yet he's gotten to this stage.
That's it.
And you think that because if he had spoken more, we might not be where we are?
Remember, I mean, we can historicize this. In the days of Obasanjo, perhaps every month the president would come out and discuss on what he then called the state of the nation, or the state of the state.
I think there was also a presidential chat.
Monthly president. I mean, you guys will know it. You always interacted with him. Whether he was saying what we expected to hear, or he wasn't saying it, there were statements coming from the president. That was then going to be left to the civil society to interrogate, discuss, explore for possible feedback. That is what Nigeria was before this current president. When there was, the COVID crisis around the world, you will see that in the United States, the president, even Trump then, will come out every day, because it was a national emergency, to interrogate the issue and issue statements to give hopes to the citizen. I think you don't need the wisdom of Solomon to know that whenever a state is in crisis, like Nigeria is in crisis, to the extent that colleagues outside the world will be saying you are coming from a failed state. And the president now realizes it does not take the wisdom of Solomon to know that every day
the only part I would take issue with, the only part I would take issue with is where you say the president realizing, and this matter about a failing state. There's no way that's going to be acceptable or accepted in governance circles.
Well,
there's no way that's going to be accepted
among the politicians. You mean?
Well, in government. In government.
Well, how do you mean government in this state?
Well, I mean the presidency.
Yeah, of course, presidency will never agree that the state is failing. But the president knows from the feedback from the citizen that the state is failing.
But we don't have because you are a specialist.
Yes.
Because you are a specialist. When we talk about a failing state, there are parameters. And I don't know that we've ticked all the boxes.
We have not. And that is why I ran away from choosing the word failed state. But it's failing. It's in progress. There are signs that indicate that failure is on the way. When your security architecture collapses, Do you want to say all is well? You are not failing, you are progressing?
But he said we have changed the police, the leadership of the police, we've changed leadership in the army, and we expect them to deliver.
How much of that do you see on the streets of Nigeria? Does that guarantee the Nigerian citizen to travel from Lagos to Abuja without fear of kidnap, without fear of assassination and robbery? I mean, it's good enough for the president to take the action of changing.
Okay.
But then there must be feedback. When you change for a purpose. Have you been able to achieve the purpose of changing the leadership of the security chief? The answer is no. If what we read in the papers every day is anything to go about, except their line, except their political oppositions who want to drag down the government. But we see videos. Videos don't lie. We see photographs.
Yes.
These things don't lie.
This
So
is
I will maintain that the president has suddenly realized that the state is failing.
But
it has not failed.
You might also recall that the president had just remarked, we were talking with the INEC chief, that he gets daily reports. So, in other words, he knows what is going on. He gets daily reports.
Okay, well,
but
so
I was
the president gets daily reports,
yeah,
but
so he's very, very much aware.
Yearly response to daily report. There are 365 days in a year.
Yeah.
So you need to accumulate 365 days report before you make one statement. One statement that says almost everything but nothing. Oh, no, I'm afraid that's not the way to govern the state.
So I'm deducing from what you're saying that even though we've heard to the contrary from the presidency, and the president, that we are doing the best that we can.
Yeah, that we can.
You seem to be saying that you don't buy into that.
That statement admits failure. If the statement is, I am doing the best that I can, and what operates outside the polity is that everything is aggravating every day, then it speaks to the fact that you don't have the capacity to do what you should do. Can denotes ability. If in the state of Nigeria today, the president is saying, I am doing the best that I can, then that can should be interrogated. It should be interrogated. It speaks to ability. It speaks to capacity. And that is why there are calls in certain quarters for the president to just throw in the towel. I mean, my brother Ayori, this man came in on the sentiment of a good man. There has never been any person in Nigeria who came in on that sentiment. People saw the person of Buhari as a saint, the person of Buhari as a messiah. Now, it's not impossible that you come in with that nomenclature and you get into the system to see that what you have in reality is a complete opposite of what you expected. You throw in the towel in order to maintain that integrity.
Now I hear what you're saying,
Doctor. Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, Doctor.
It's done all over the world. What is it in political office that will make anybody not to want to leave? For what reason?
The president made the remark also yesterday, that, look, first of all, he cleared the air about he has no interest whatsoever in any third-term agenda. In case that is why some people are attacking INEC, the facilities up and down the land, that he has no intention in that regard at all. But then he also, and the way he phrased it sort of caught my eye, that he was going to continue to run affairs, well and within the ambits of the Constitution. Now, I have heard Mr. President say, not recently, but I've heard him say that it's a different thing when you're a military, head of state, and when you are a democratically elected president. And so, how much stock do you put on that whole line of thinking that it's not as easy as you remember the days of with immediate effect? Well, democracy doesn't, and rule of law doesn't always allow for immediate effect. Would you factor that in because you said, to start with, that it's a complicated affair?
When you apply to the university to get a degree, you probably will not anticipate how difficult the classes, the lectures, and the research seminars will be. But you prepare your mind that you are determined to get this degree. And so it's that determination that scales you through. Mr. President cannot tell us that when he was campaigning in 2015, he did not know that he was coming to serve under a democratic tenure. He witnessed several democratic tenures in Nigeria. The Babangida Chonekon, Shagari before him. And as an international man, he saw what democracy is and how democracy operated around the world. So it is wrong for anybody to say, I did not know this is how it is. You
no, but never, I don't, the president has never said that.
So if you now say it is not easy, did you expect it to be easy? Governing men is not easy. And that is why the Surajus on the street, the vulcanizers on the street will not say, I want to be president tomorrow. Because they know that you need special skills, special experiences, special capacity to decipher things and interpret things for you to take the lead. That's why everybody is not up there as the leader. So once you take up the mantle of leadership, you should carry the responsibility. It doesn't have to be easy. In fact, when it's easy, it's nothing. So I don't get impressed by the complaints that it is not easy. The hard way is the only way. You must do it. Nigerians don't want to listen to that excuse.
I hear you.
They elected you.
I hear you, Doctor.
They want you. I mean, on the principles of constitution, you were elected.
That he has to operate within the ambits of the law and the constitution.
What does that law say? It says that your being there guarantees the security and safety of the Nigerian people.
That's your primary function.
That implies, therefore, that if for any reason you cannot uphold and guarantee the security and safety of the Nigerian people, you are not there. That's what it implies. I am not speaking it. The Constitution is speaking it.
Good morning, Patrick in Owerri. Good morning, Patrick.
How are you? And your guest in the studio.
Thank you very much for calling in. Go right ahead, please.
Yeah. Well, what is trending today is the president being shocked. Especially in Owerri here. Many young men are writing now, they are shocked. Mr. President, it is hearing.
No. Sorry, sir. I didn't. You used the word shock. I think the context in which it was used was that the president was saying that troublemakers, secessionists, people destroying federal property will receive a shock shortly. We have given them enough time. I'm quoting the president now.
At this point, Uncle Yeri, at this point, the rhetorics are very important. The rhetoric, the words we use, like your guest told you there. You don't need all this. You've not been here, maybe we'll invite you to see things for yourself. The people are already shocked. The people are scared. The people are not coming out. They are shocked. I don't know whatever word. You don't need to shock even among it's said the criminals and the good ones. The good ones are already shocked. There are few things the people, especially from this part of the world, requires. Look at what is happening in Benue. From what the people from the eastern part of the world read, it seems that those things are for us. It seems that the whatever pounding we're going to do is for here. But what you hear the president said, I condemn at its entirety. We didn't hear it. What is happening in Benue? We condemn at its entirety any herdsman carrying AK-47. My people, I deny them. My children, please, calm down. We are working for you. So and so on. There are certain words you expect from your father if something is happening. The issue of I will kill and bury. Come to Federal Medical Center where come and see corpses. Innocent people. Between Sunday and now, along the airport road, soldiers have shot several people and dumping their corpses at FMC. Is that what kind of shock again are you going to receive? What has those things got to do with what we're talking about?
Sorry, I beg your pardon. I want to thank you because you see, I want to thank you very much for calling in. But when you begin to talk about coffins by the wayside, by the side of the road, you understand that you can't say that kind of a thing without verifiable evidence where we see it, because we're talking about a delicate situation. The president himself has said that it's the insecurity that is being spoken about now. But going to the shock, that word shock, the president used the word, and he was referring, the context of the word shock was that the troublemakers are going to receive a shock.
How do you know?
This no doubt goes back to some of the things that you've just said, but he has announced that...
Did the president say the troublemakers are going to receive shock?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, that's the statement.
Yes, those that have been, destroying national assets, meaning the INEC facilities, because this was where the professor was presenting to the president the situation they're in. So it was in that context that he has said those people will be getting a shock. If they, what do they want? I don't know what they want. We've changed the police, we've changed the army. So why are people carry on like that? Good morning, Ada. Thank you for holding on. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to our guest, Dr. Olukayode. You're speaking very well. Indeed, it's complicated. Let me borrow his words. I'm glad to hear President Buhari admit that the insecurity in Nigeria is now the talk of the whole world. I recall when one of his media, whatever, accused us of being whalers, simply because we are drawing the attention of our president to the deplorable state of affairs and the need to address the issues. I, for one, have always seen Buhari as a messiah. I must tell you that. You will be surprised to hear what I'm saying, but I'm disappointed. My appeal to Mr. President is to treat everyone fairly. You know, he said that the people doing both the INEC offices attacking the police and the rest of them, that they'll be shocked. I condemn it, but all I'm saying is that let there be no double standards. Let him also shock the Fulani people who are already killing people and all, making them carrying AK-47 or AK-49. Babangida told us in a journalist hangout that they have AK-49. I don't know those things. All indices of a failed state is playing out in Nigeria, whether we like to hear it or not. However, we should not lose hope. Once there is life, there is hope.
Indeed.
President Buhari can still fix it. I have the confidence in the President Buhari. He can fix it if he determines to do so. Let him just have the political will.
All right, then.
Nigeria. Let's not give up this country.
Thank you very much for calling in. Indeed, and I should also point out that Kayode, even though he has access, is not about to move to any of those African countries and take up residency and begin to lecture there. So you know, you're better off here.
The disaster is that if 1% of Nigerians decide to move that way, those countries will collapse, and that speaks to the reality of never allowing Nigeria to collapse. She just spoke about Fulani herdsmen. I hate using the word Fulani, but the realities will prevent you, from doing otherwise. Herdsmen.
You know,
I told you, I just returned from a tour of West Africa. I went by road, deliberately so, because I needed to see for myself, the need for, comparison before you do analysis. I see herdsmen on the road everywhere. They were there doing their things with their cattle, several
open grazing
and all of these things. None of them did I see with AK-21, let alone AK-47. What is a herdsman doing with AK-47? I don't see the logic at all.
Okay.
It speaks to the fact then that there is a peculiarity with the Nigerian situation. How do they get this gun? Who gives them? Who allows them to carry?
And there's a shoot-at-sight order by the president for any herdsman wielding an AK-47.
So, has any one of them been shot?
I have not heard a report.
So, that's what we say.
Mr. Kesandu, thank you for holding on. Good morning, sir.
Uncle Yori, I greet you, sir. Good morning, our guest.
Good morning.
Dr. Isola.
Uncle Yori, you see, we are all Nigerians. I am from Imo State, and we all believe in this country, Nigeria. But it's high time, Mr. President, not just acting presidential, it's high time he spoke presidential. The truth about it is that Mr. President is the father of all nations, and he must accept that particular responsibility and role to be for everybody and for nobody. When he made that statement of the issue, we thought Mr. President meant well until he made the statement of 5% and 95%. And this has been what has been playing out. People are being slaughtered on daily basis in Ebonyi, in Benue. We have not seen Mr. President come out to give stern warning to these persons doing some of these things. As I speak to you, like my brother Patrick said, what we are seeing in a way is making us shed tears on a daily basis. In fact, a young man who was living for Germany was just murdered in cold blood by the military. And up to this moment, Mr. President has not deemed it fit to even call them to order, for them to also obey the rules of engagement. When Mr. President sound the way he just sounded, that is not the way a father of the nation should sound. Fulani headers are going about with AK-47, maiming, killing, raping people. And up to this moment, we have not seen a categorical statement from Mr. President condemning this particular act. If you tell us that you shoot aside anybody with AK-47, that is just a general statement. And up to this moment, Uncle Yori, how many persons have been shot with AK-47? This Fulani headers maiming people. I think it's high time Mr. President understood. He should disagree some of our minds that Mr. President does not really like some of us from this part of the country. And that is what it means.
Okay.
That is what he needs to make us believe that he is for everybody. We are not happy with the way Mr. President has been acting. He should simply speak and act presidential. We are not asking for too much, and that is why we said let us have a fresh constitution so that there will not be so much power at the center. Let us have a dissolution of power. We can be there on our own.
All right,
God bless
then.
Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Kesando. Okay, he actually went into another subject.
Yeah, another subject entirely.
That one is ongoing now.
We shouldn't be sectional about this.
Yes.
You see, when we are trying to be African, when we say Mr. President is the father of the nation, this kind of statement perhaps makes the ruling class feel they are Leviathan, they are God somewhere. It's not the father of the nation. He's the number one servant of the nation. Maybe somebody needs to make that clear so that he will know that he's not supposed to just sit in the comfort of Ashura. He should be on the street, if possible.
Well, will you allow for different styles? Will you allow for, look, different human beings, even if you are a president, you're still a human being.
I'm saying
different styles.
I'm saying what the Constitution says. The Constitution says you are the number one civil servant in the country. The civil servant is supposed to serve the people, and therefore you are not supposed to be father who will sit down at the comfort of your office and start teaching others. You work with people.
You make it sound like an easy job the way you're saying it.
But that's what the law is saying.
But no, what I'm saying is that you make it sound like the occupant of that office is having an easy time, but that's not what we're hearing from them, that they're working round the clock.
Well, that's
they say they sleep very, very little. Mr. George, good morning, sir.
You know.
Mr. George?
Yes.
Good morning, sir.
George. Good morning, Uncle Yuri. Can you hear me?
Yes, but you've been away for too long. Welcome back.
I went to look for food.
Welcome back.
Uncle Yuri?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to disagree with the president, because this is not the first time he's issuing such a directive or such assurance. He assured us that no headman will be seen with AK-47. They should be shot aside. None of them has been shot aside, and they are still going about with AK-47
every day.
He has given us several assurances that were not carried out. So I'm not really thrilled by this one. Uncle Yori, I believe that the security situation in this country is not beyond our security agencies. It is the president that has to develop the strong way to ensure that we are safe. I don't believe it is beyond them. They know the hideouts. They know where the bandits are. So what is the problem? They have the arms that they can use to tackle them. Why? People are afraid to move around. I just told you I went to look for food. If I tell you how I was going from one state to the other, you will wonder how I survived it. People put their hands on their heads when they are moving from one place to the other because they are not sure they can get there. We cannot remain like this. That is the truth of the matter. And he is the only one that we can cry to. He should please do something.
Okay. All right.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. George. This is the way a lot of people are thinking about this matter. A lot of people, it needs to be said.
Take statistics.
Yes.
That's what you hear. On the street, in the church, in the mosque, in the school, in the university, when you go for conferences, workshops, everybody is saying,
your own academic colleagues were joking with you.
So
I imagine them saying they are coming from a failed state.
Expressly like that. So what else do you need to draw the attention of Mr. President that this is a period of emergency?
You know, the way you started off, Cowdy, the very first thing you said was that this is a complicated
issue.
One doesn't really understand not being in government or being a soldier or being in power. You don't really understand it. But Mr. George just said there that he doesn't believe the security situation is beyond our capabilities. But you see, we often are told that what you're expecting the Nigerian army to do, for example, root out Boko Haram. They say it can't happen because it's an asymmetrical kind of
warfare,
war, and therefore it's not the way you... I don't know. Not everybody is persuaded that if those guys had the order, the Armenian uniform, if they had the order to take that problem out, they would be able to do it.
My brother, it's complicated. The complication comes first on the issue of capacity.
I beg your pardon. I'll come back to you. Mazi Okoroafo came on the line. Good morning, Mazi Okoroafo.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. Sir.
Yes.
So you see, when we talk about this that you see the security issue of Nigeria, we cannot compare it with what is happening in other countries because reason, our own here, we go into a system of give and take. You pay money, you go. And even when they talk about housing, it has to do with money and power. Now, we talk about insecurity in Nigeria as a case study. Everything else the whole world knows is digital. Our purely is the case that purely on local authority. What do I mean? The local government. Do you know that if our local government chairmen and councillors were properly elected and positioned, we will not have all these problems? Because in as much as you're the chairman of a local government, you are the chief security of that local government. You spill your blood to make sure that you secure all those places. But because many of them got all these local government chairman and councillors based on appointment on just a man-no-man basis, that is why we are stating all this. But the question is this: the way we are moving, we saw what happened in Mali, we saw what happened in Chad. People right now in Mali, as I'm talking to you now, Mali is boiling 247. Chad is boiling 247. That of Iraq is something that one cannot talk about. Are you talking about Afghanistan? Afghanistan is 247. But the question is, we have to find a solution, our local solution in terms of security to secure our environment, because now is the time for famine. If we refuse to secure our areas now, Mr. Yori and I'm guessing and Nigerians, food scarcity will be prominent in Nigeria. It will be a problem in something most to come in this country. Because one, people are complaining. You see governors talking that they are siding or whether they are sizing or that this and that. It's a problem. Not to talk about when the marketers, people who are in the market, they cannot sell. People who are buying, they cannot, people who are coming. Even people are manufacturing, who are importing, they still have problem with the banks.
Yeah.
To collect loan from the banks to pay is another problem because people are not buying. Mm-hmm. And even when people will continue owing you, come and you may have paid by the even steeper, which is not ready. The local government authorities should come back and sit down and find solutions now or never. Failure to do that, they're creating more problem for themselves. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos. God bless all of us.
Thank you, Mazi.
You already the point made by the last caller. It's similar to what I wanted to say before his call came in. The issue of capacity. If there is one lesson that the Nigerian people will learn from this disaster in this administration, is the issue of ensuring that leadership is decided based on capacity and CV. In 2015, I will take your mind back. The Nigerian system had a problem. The economy was in trouble. There was serious security issue. And then, instead of bringing all these things into national discourse and allowing them to be the very yardstick for allowing any other person to come and replace the former president, we operated on the sentiment of a wholly clean man. And I always draw the analysis of this into a university system. When you have a university system where teaching and research are in crisis, whereas they're supposed to be the primary things to be done. And I say, no, what you need to resolve the crisis is a good man who is close to God, who is born again. Then you bring a pastor to come and be vice chancellor. That is the best way to kill that university. There was a disaster in 2015. We did not decide that election based on CV, on capacity, on merit. And that is what is haunting us today.
Wait, Doctor.
Yeah.
There is a political process. There are qualifications for those who want to aspire.
Capacity. I didn't say qualification.
Well,
capacity.
But at the end of the day,
CV.
It's a vote. It's a single vote that counts.
Yes.
And so whatever the CV that has been presented,
yes,
the entirety of the Nigerian people are going to evaluate it with their vote.
Yes, that's why I'm saying, if we looked at my choice of, I say we did not decide. I am not isolating myself from the problem, either by accident or design or by error. All of us decided 2015 based on sentiment, based on the perception of one holy man or one Messiah, not on CV. What have you done before? What can you do? What should you be able to do, given your leadership, given your personality, your training, and your background? That is why we're here today. And I think Nigerians should begin to learn that lesson. It's similar to what the last caller said, that we just put people in office, because of man knows man. I think the signal is that to build a nation, we must elevate ourselves beyond these very mundane yardsticks of selecting leadership.
Okay. Now, you refused or you rejected your colleagues who referred to your country, our beloved country, as a failed nation. But
it's not a failed nation.
But then you qualified it by saying
fast failing.
That says to me that it's not a hopeless cause. You are not among those who are saying the situation in Nigeria is hopeless.
No, it's not hopeless.
It's not hopeless.
No situation in the world is hopeless.
So this is a thing that is not beyond us.
It's not beyond us. It's not beyond us. It's not beyond the world. All we need to do is do the right thing. And as I was talking to a journalist some 2 days ago, constitution is key.
The president emphasizes that frequently.
Constitution is key. But constitution is the state itself. What we call Nigeria today is 95% expired. Which means the constitution is expired. Now, when you have an expired item, how do you solve it? One, you break it down into the former materials you used to mold it and remold the materials to arrive at what you should use. That's option one. This is where we are talking about those.
Are we in that process now with these public hearings that are being set up?
I'm afraid we are not.
In spite of this hearing to amend the constitution?
I'm afraid we are not, because the processes themselves that you see to amend the constitution are not going to yield any result. They are not properly done. You are talking about constitutional amendment. What constitution are you amending as at this point? 1999, 1963? Which one are you talking about? That's number one. Number two, who are the people going around to amend the constitution? What training, what CV do they have? Philosophically, the idea of a constitution speaks to the law that operates the constitution of the country. You bring people together. That's where the word constitution comes in. So constitution is not the law. It's the people that you have brought together. And when you bring people together in a political system, three things are in place: sociology, law, and more importantly, politics. Now, those who are going around now claiming to rephrase or rework the constitution, what is their extent of knowledge?
Well, they are
well informed. That's what I'm saying.
They are politicians.
Do you trust national development to politicians?
No, I don't think
politics being
I don't think anybody,
a game of what to eat.
Okay.
Against the other, the crop of Nigerian politicians, as you have seen since 1960 now, you trust this exercise to them?
Is it true?
What are the research institutes doing? Are they involved?
That's what I was going to say, that nobody is going to imagine, I would hope not, that you just leave the amendment or the writing of the constitution to a bunch of politicians. There are going to be experts that these political leaders who have been voted, will call upon.
How many of these experts have been brought in, Yuri? That is my thinking. That's my concern. And that's why I concluded almost before we started that it's going to be a waste of time. Politicians are what they are. They're like businessmen. They go only for where their selfish personal interests are. It's not out of place. That's why they are politicians.
Yeah,
and that's why you have the neutral society.
That's an overgeneralization.
Well, I wouldn't ever.
Because there are a few people who actually go out there to serve.
Give me an example.
I'm just working from probability.
From what we have seen, beyond probability, empirically, in Nigeria, between 1960 and now, politics being played by politicians is all about selfish interest, and that is why there's no ideology.
Okay.
You are in PDP today, you move to APC tomorrow.
That is a fact.
It's facts.
Moses in Ibadan. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Please go ahead.
Well, following the topic that we are discussing about insecurity in Nigeria.
Yes.
I think it is more of the lack of political will on the part of the leadership to address the issue. Because we have been more defensive rather than being offensive. The bandits, the kidnappers cannot be stronger than the military force of Nigeria. But we have refused to take the battle to their camps And so they continue to ravage Nigeria and embarrass everybody.
Okay.
Just because the leadership cannot muster enough political will to address the issue. If they can, honestly, we will have peace in Nigeria. And every other problem of agitation will come down. Because we are having this other agitation because of the lack of political will on the part of the leadership to address the issue. They are concentrating on the southeast, leaving the problem in the northeast, northwest. They have refused to accept the truth. They are even introducing people that are killing, maiming, kidnapping people back into the system. I mean, it cannot work.
Okay. All right. I hear you. Thank you very much for calling in. Now, Kayode, part of the problem, when the president said that the whole world is talking about insecurity in Nigeria, and every Nigerian already knows that, you know, and then secessionists, I don't know if
agitations.
Those kind of agitations, that people are actually actioning and you know, carrying on the way they want. I think over the weekend, the video circulated in social media that a group had gone to, you know, the Idiroko border and had, you know, purportedly opened it up. And they, from the videos that we saw, they seemed to be in charge. Even took a rifle from some immigration officer, I believe, that was there, even though there were no bullets in it. That's on the one hand. A proscribed organization, proscribed altogether, you know, was actually still speaking to the people. And unfortunately, it seemed that the people actually, you know, listened to them and did as they were asked to do. So all of this, you know, somebody talked about the political will there. What's this political will? Are you in charge or are you not in charge? That's what a lot of people are asking.
The question has answered itself. If a group of people, very micro group like that, we go into a national border, a prominent national border, and take charge of everything
and open it.
The question is, are you in charge or you are not in charge? It's not kind of this that will say that. The answer is clear, right on the table. Nobody's in charge.
Well, it's a difficult situation because when you say that, I wish I had some comeback. But I saw those videos, and those people operated very much the way they wanted at the Idiroko border.
It's not today.
And then just left.
Elsewhere in other parts of the country.
Louis in Spain, I believe. Good morning, Louis.
Yes, good morning.
Thank you for calling in.
I want to thank you. I thank your guest. I just want to agree to what your guest, Dr.
Kayode Esuola.
That's just the fact. Even the National Assembly, they know that the process they are even undergoing is not to fail. They know. They are just doing this one to but most of them are even afraid. So that they will not be killed by the bandits. They are afraid. Until the governor of Niger State cried out that they are very close to Abuja. That is when you see our National Assembly members, they were crying in the parliament. If they are allowed this thing to overrule the whole country, we are just in European and they don't look the question they ask us here, they say, don't know our leader, it is the best that we can get from our country. That's what they ask us here. Those are our leaders. It is the best you people can get from our country. Country that produce all kinds of noble men. This is the kind of leader we are getting. The people are complaining about Buhari, but we should go and check what he did with the PTF. Why are we not complaining? Not that it's still money, but he has this tendency of favoring the note over everything that he's doing. Go and check the thing that he's doing with the PTF money when Abacha appointed to be the leader of PTF. So it's not now that we are saying those things. Most of the Nigeria problem can be solved with just for us coming together. That's one of the problems that is our grant in Nigeria now. Just coming together and look and solve 50% of the problem. But I want to do that. Instead of doing this, this one is blaming this side, this one is blaming this side. Okay, look at it now. If you go to Niger Delta, I'm from Niger Delta, I'm from Edo State. If you go to Niger Delta, most of the oil block is being owned by the Northerners. But go and look the North. Almost 95% of the children they are not going to school. They are nothing. Yes, but it's just the elites in Nigeria, they are killing the country, and they want everybody to be happy with it.
All right. Thank you very much for calling in. Appreciate your call, Louis. It's gotten so serious that I heard Governor Tom on television actually appealing to the president to allow people to bear arms. That this thing is becoming too much. We're being slaughtered here.
It's an extreme alternative.
Yes,
so,
it is
it's understandable. It's understandable.
Because he, as far as that governor is concerned, he says we cry to Abuja. Nobody is helping us. I think I saw a woman, a lady from there was speaking on behalf of Nigerian mothers. So there are calls all over the place. Mr. President, please come to our rescue.
Even from the calls that have come in today,
Indeed.
Is anybody saying the opposite?
Yeah.
Is this manipulated?
No, of course not.
So who is in charge of Nigeria?
Well, certainly
We are a failing state. Put it together. That's the answer you get.
But
it's either we accept that reality
well,
and swing into
I
action.
don't want to go as far as failing, personally.
Yeah.
But I understand that we have many problems. But failing is just that the evidence is a bit one kind, because you see the kind of things that I've spoken about. People purporting to open a border by themselves. People saying the kind of things like, they want their own,
government.
Yes, they want their own government,
local government,
and that kind of a thing.
Police.
And Mr. President was warning that people who are speaking like this, maybe they're so young that they don't have the experience of being at war. And I've seen that Mr. President was taken to task on social media when he said that he was in it, and he had made the point that over 1 million people died. We don't ever want to see that again.
Unfortunately, the fear of that should have made him more proactive in running the Nigerian state. Human beings are products of emotion, especially when critical issues are at stake. They damn the consequences. Why do protesters go to the street and burn cars and burn houses? Houses and cars do not offend them, but they are trying to make some point for some people to listen. That is the manifestation you see in every part of the country. If Mr. President went through civil war and saw many people died, he should be proactive towards ensuring that there's no repeat of such in the Nigerian state. Because the way we are going now, some will even tell you we're already at civil war. Remember what people who are calling from Owerri are saying. I've not been there, but we see pictures on the social media. This matter is beyond sentiment. This matter is beyond prayer. Maybe we should talk to pastors who are praying, who are doing all these spirits. It's beyond all these things. Everybody should come and realize the problem and then face it head on.
Well, I'm sure you recall, maybe you're still out of the country then, very recently, traditional leaders, across the board, came together on this particular subject to add their own voice to the warning. Very much along the lines that you are speaking about here.
Definitely.
And also, criticizing the politicians.
Yes.
In fact, the traditional rulers were saying that, well, I'm quoting on your visa in particular, it is we traditional leaders that you leave there.
Of course.
You people that were voted from here, you can't come here in view of your performance and stay for a week here. So, well, Claudia,
politicians should never be left
to their own
with the future of this country. Given what we have seen of them in Nigeria between 1960 and now, they don't have the CV to rework the constitution.
So who holds them to the account?
They could lead, but they need to involve the critical sectors of the society. Otherwise, whatever they do will become what Fela calls perambulation. It won't work.
I think I'll just leave it there. Let's leave it there.
We can leave it there.
Yeah, we can leave it there.
To leave it there.
It's not a failing state, in my opinion.
I say it's a failing state. Not failed yet.
Not failed yet.
It's collapsing state.
Can we agree
on crippled giant?
Can we agree on there's much work to be done?
I agree.
Much more work to be done
on the states, so that it will not ultimately fail.
Dr. Lukayode Esuola, Senior Research Fellow in Politics and Governance at the University of Lagos and Political Affairs Analyst. Thank you very much for coming on the program. So that's our program. Let me just a quick word about COVID-19. It's not gone away. So please, the masks, the social distancing, which I notice has disappeared in all public places, please, do what you can. Bye-bye for now.